Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to Inquisitive Mind, a Consultants Day session. And thank you for joining me here in this session. Uh, so this will be the agenda I'll be covering today. Uh, s- Briefly, I'll describe about me, the roles and activities we are going to, roles and activities consultants do in a day, why a consultant should be inquisitive, how a day in the life of a consultant looks like, what are the Salesforce Consultant certifications available and what you should do, and some of the tips from my personal experience as a Salesforce consultant. So I'll start with something about me. So I'm Himanshu Bansal. I'm working as a senior consultant in Capgemini. I have over 10 years of experience, say 7 years in Salesforce ecosystem. I've got 15 certifications. I'm an application architect as well as Trailhead Ranger. All right, so I'll start with the roles and activities a Salesforce consultant usually do in a day. Salesforce consultant is involved in a lot of activities. It starts with discovery workshop where consult. Hello. It starts with discovery workshop. Can you hear me? Sorry. Okay. It starts with discovery workshop and where we have to understand the business requirements. And The aim of that is to understand the pain points of the customer, and so you can design it. You can design the solution better. Uh, when we have the high level business requirement, the aim after that is to create the design, working with the architects, working with the technical team, create the high level design. High level design. Uh, Not only that, Salesforce consultant also have to work with multiple different teams, like technical teams, team of architects, team of developers. There are different user team, business teams. Yeah, consultant have to work with them as well. There are a lot of third-party teams as well, which are involved in the project. So consultant keep working with those third-party teams as well. Uh, Amongst all this is going on, these meetings and teams working with, consultant is taking interviews as well, user interviews. So why these user interviews are important? Because when you develop any project, when you develop any product, you need to get feedback from the customer, from the users who's actually going to use the system. So when we take these user interviews, we get to know what improvements we can do in the system, and based on that, we can go ahead and make the changes. Then there are trainings and demos also, which consultant usually do. So there are two types of training usually, which sometimes consultant directly deliver the trainings to the end user, and then in some projects they come up with the train the trainer program where a consultant have to train the trainers, and the trainers actually go and train the actual user who's working in the system. Demos, we sometimes call it like show and tell. You must have heard of the term show and tell. So these are usually the sessions which consultant deliver it to the end user or the business user who has given us the requirement. So just to make sure and check how we have worked, what we have worked, and is that per their expectation or not. So these are usually the roles and activities which a Salesforce consultant usually do. Now, a Salesforce consultant have to be inquisitive. Why? Because as a kid, we used to ask so many questions, right? We used to ask questions like, why is the sky blue? How do airplanes fly? And we used to ask so many questions like this, right? But as in when we grow up, we stop asking questions. So I think it's really important for a Salesforce consultant to be inquisitive. There are a number of reasons. One is we can understand the problem better, because when you ask question, when you are curious, you try to understand the problem better, and you can go to the root of the problem, why there's a problem, and then you can provide the right solution. You can understand the big picture, because if somebody's shared a problem statement with you, you may not able to understand, you may not know the magnitude of the problem, because it's just a problem statement for you. But unless you ask the question, you cannot understand the big picture. So to understand the big picture, you have to be curious, you have to ask questions, why it happened, how it happened, all those questions. And unless you know that, you cannot understand the big picture. And if you directly go for any implementation, you might tend to fail. So there are other reasons, like you make fewer decision-making errors, because when you assume something, when you have a problem statement in front of you, we start assuming things. We start assuming the unknowns. But let's say if you are curious, if you are inquisitive, you ask those questions to the person who has given you that problem. You make fewer decision-making errors because you know what you need to do instead of just assuming things. And obviously, when you have the right details, you have all the details, you will provide the optimal solution, optimal process to the customer. So I think it's really important for a consultant to be inquisitive. Then I'll briefly describe how a consultant's day usually look like. This is based on my experience, how I usually work. So I usually start my day with preparing a to-do list, what I have to do in the day, throughout the day. And I check my emails and do any last-minute preparation. So if there are any demos, any meetings, and I have to prepare anything for the last minute, I usually do that in the morning before going for any sessions. Then there are two types of sessions we usually do when we do any project, like discovery sessions and requirement deep dive sessions. So now there's a minor difference between these two sessions, because discovery session is a session which we usually do at the start of the project, where you take the high-level requirement and understand the pain points. And requirement deep dive sessions are usually the sessions where you work on a specific problem of a project, and they happen during the course of the project. So when you work on the discovery session, you understand the pain point of the customer and you try to analyze their problem, understand the business scenario, and convert that into the Salesforce solution. But that happens usually at the very high level. But when you go to the requirement deep dive sessions, they start when your project is up and running. You have a specific problem in hand and you want to find the solution of that problem. So you go to the granular level detail of the problem. You ask a lot of questions. If customer is providing you with some details, you ask a lot of questions about why it happened, how it happened, and everything you want to know about the problem just to solve to provide the right solution. Then the main task, one of the main tasks of the Salesforce consultant is also to work with the technical teams. So technical teams usually include team of architects, team of developers. Now, whenever Salesforce consultant writes a requirement, it's really important to write the requirement in a way so that everybody understands it. Nobody will have to go and intervene. Okay, I don't understand this problem. It should be self-explanatory, first of all, every requirement. So, but when we work with technical teams, we have to be cognizant of the fact that they don't understand the business things, right? And same scenario work with the business people. When you work with a business team, your business people might not be very technical. So you might have to talk with them in the business terms. So when you work with a technical team, you have to find the balance between your business problem and the technical problem, because a business may ask for anything, but it may not be possible to provide the technical solution. So you have to find the right balance between your business ask and technical solution, right? And also when you work with architects, when you work with developers, you have to find an innovative solution. Because there may be a scenario which your client has given to you, but you know the solution, but that solution might not be applicable for the same scenario in a different company, because you have to find a solution for the industry you are working in, for the client you are working in, for the problem statement you have. So all these factors you have to combine all these factors, and all the products you are using within the system. You may be using 10 different products within your project. So combining all these, you have to find the right solution, innovative solution for that particular situation. And it may not be applicable for the similar situation in a different company. So Salesforce consultant role doesn't end with just the implementation. Salesforce consultant is involved in planning activities as well. So in some scenarios, in some companies, Salesforce consultant work starts just even before the project starts. So usually Salesforce consultant is involved in the RFP phase. You might know RFP. So Salesforce Consultant is involved in RFP phases as well. But when Salesforce Consultant is working on a project, Salesforce Consultant should be part of all the planning meetings, like we have roadmap strategy meetings, right? So because Salesforce Consultant can provide the insights of the business drivers. Consultant understand the business drivers very well. So it's important to provide the inputs on how business drivers can lead to the right roadmap of your project. Other than that, I think self-learning, this is applicable maybe for everybody. But usually as a consultant, I spend some time of the day for my self-learning as well, because Salesforce come up with so many things, right? So we have to spend some time on the self-learning as well. There are so many trailhead certifications available in the market, so we need to make sure that we are updated to those, so we can provide the right and innovative solution to the clients. Now, there are 10 designated Salesforce consultant certifications available in the market right now. It starts with Sales Cloud, Service Cloud Consultant, and Experience Cloud Consultant. These are like the traditional clouds, which we call. Experience Cloud, it was Community Cloud earlier, and Salesforce has now rebranded it to Experience Cloud. And you have to do administrator certification before appearing for these certifications. Salesforce has come up with Field Service Lightning Consultant as well certification. So Field Service Lightning Consultant is very tightly coupled with Service Cloud certification, Service Cloud. So you have to do Service Cloud and administrator before going for field service. In last couple of years, after COVID, Salesforce came up with Experience Cloud and Education Cloud and Non-Profit Cloud Consultant as well. These are the very new clouds, and they are going to pick up. So it's good if you want to do these certifications. Then there is Omni Studio Consultant. So Salesforce acquired a company called Velocity. Sometimes we interchangeably call it as Salesforce Industries as well. So that certification is available. There is no prerequisite for it. You don't need to do administrator certification if you want to go do Omni Studio Consultant. So you can directly go for that certification if you want to. Then there is Einstein certification as well, which is Salesforce automation tool. There are 40 plus tools amongst Einstein. If you want to do Einstein certification, you might want to grab hand on some of the Einstein tools and learn them, and then go for the certifications. Then there are two Marketing Cloud Consultant certifications available, which is Pardot Cloud Consultant and Marketing Cloud Consultant. These both are in the marketing area. For these, Marketing Cloud Administrator and Pardot Specialist are the respective prerequisites. Then there is one certification which is not a consultant certification, Platform App Builder. It's not a consultant certification, but I would strongly recommend any consultant to do that, because this is a certification which actually tests your hands-on skill on the configuration. And when you're working as a consultant, it's important you don't rely on anybody like developer or anybody else to do your demos, to work on your POCs, proof of concepts. If you want to do anything, you can do your hands-on, you can do it yourself. So if you do this certification, this really help you in learning the configuration skills. So any consultant, although it's not a consultant certification, but I would recommend any consultant to go for this. Lastly, some of the tips from my personal experience based on the work. So a consultant should develop some of the skills like critical thinking, analytical skill, listening and probing skill. Now, if you are inquisitive, if you are curious, you can automatically develop the probing skill. So you need to probe, you need to ask question. If any problem statement is there with you, you need to ask question. So that's like probing. And listening skill is one of the most underrated skill, I would say, because we always talk about speaking skill. We never talk about listening. But listening is something very important skill which a Salesforce consultant should have, because when you're probing, when you're asking question, you should listen to those answers. You should be ready to listen anything which is coming your way. So I think this is one of the very important skill any consultant should have. When you're working, you should do comprehensive documentation. So we as a consultant, create documents like functional design documents. We create requirements. So at the end of the day, these documents become the source of truth. And if you don't do comprehensive documentation, you don't provide the right details in those documentation, there may be some consequences at the end of the day, right? So because these are the source of truth. So you need to do comprehensive documentation. This is one of the very important skill, I would say, which should be there. Be patient with your client's requirement. Why? Because the person you're working with, the client you're working with, they may not know your product very well technically. When they see the system, they may be new for the product. So when they see this product, when they understand the system, they will change their requirement. And sometimes we don't accept those, but I think it's really important to understand the situation, the challenges, because the product may be new for them. So we need to be patient with their requirement. You need to learn how to deal with those kind of requirements, and be patient with them basically. And explain complex topic in a layman language, because your business users may not understand technical terms. Similarly, your technical users may not understand business terms. So if you talk to your technical team in business terms, they may not even understand anything. Similarly, if your client or your business user is new to Salesforce, and if you talk in technical terms, if you say this is page layout, this is record type or whatever, right? They may not understand that. So you need to make sure you talk to them in the layman terms, in the simple language which they can understand. Last but not the least, keep yourself updated to the new Salesforce feature. Like I said earlier in the last slide as well, we need to keep ourselves updated because Salesforce come up with new feature every day. And when you learn these new tricks, new things in Salesforce, you can provide the right solution. You can provide the better solution to your client. I think this is it from my side. Thank you all. If you have any question, I'm here.